All right, happening right now, former U.S. President Donald Trump is set to deliver marks at Mar-A-Lago following his historic arraignment in New York City. Here he is walking in, of course, with his Secret Service detail. Right behind him in tow, the only ex-president to be charged with a crime after facing a 34-count felony indictment accusing him in a scheme of trying to bury negative information during his first campaign. That is the 2016 campaign for presidency. Here he is amongst a whole bunch of supporters at his Florida estate, Mar-A-Lago. No doubt the spectacle that the former president was looking for on a day that is historic south of the border. As we said, the only ex-president to be charged with a crime. The indictment centers on allegations that Trump sought to illegally influence the 2016 election by arranging payments designed to silence claims that he feared would be harmful to his candidacy, and includes 34 counts of falsified business documents. Now, Trump didn't say much throughout the trial, throughout the appearance today in court. It wasn't that long, but he did, of course, speak up and said not guilty when he was facing the judge, who also warned him to refrain from rhetoric that could inflame or cause civil unrest. So we'll have to watch closely what he says tonight. No doubt prosecutors are watching closely to what he says tonight, as he has repeatedly called this a witch hunt against him, and has even been on social media, the platform Truth Social, hearing that it was shocking to many and that no surprises and therefore no case today in Manhattan. The only ex-president to be charged with a crime, facing a 34-count felony indictment accusing him in a scheme to bury negative information during the first campaign. Trump and his lawyers have repeatedly says this is politically motivated. And here's the former president now speaking live at Mar-A-Lago.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have to save our country. God bless you all. God bless you all. And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. From the beginning, the Democrats spied on my campaign. Remember that? They attacked me with an onslaught of fraudulent investigations. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax number 1. Impeachment hoax number 2. The illegal and unconstitutional raid on Mar-A-Lago, right here. The lying to the FISA courts, the FBI and DOJ relentlessly pursuing Republicans, the unconstitutional changes to election laws by not getting approvals from state legislators, the millions of votes illegally stuffed into ballot boxes and all caught on government cameras, and just recently the FBI and DOJ in collusion with Twitter and Facebook in order not to say anything bad about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, which exposes the Biden family as criminals and which, according to the pollsters, would have made a 17-point difference in the election result. And we needed a lot less than that, like about 16.9. It would have been in our favor, not my favor, our favor, because our country is going to hell. And we remember the 51 intelligence agents who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. It didn't exist. It was Russian disinformation. Remember that? And that was all confirmed strongly by the FBI when they all knew that it wasn't Russian disinformation. And so much more. Our elections were like those of a third world country. And now this massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. He wanted to get President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that has looked at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Everybody. Even people that aren't big fans have said it. They said this is not the right thing to do. It's an insult to our country, as the world is already laughing at us for so many other reasons, like our open borders, our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world, lost 13 magnificent young lives, and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt with the loss of arms and legs and facial obliteration. The most embarrassing time in our country's history, in my opinion. Then our give up on energy independence and even energy dominance. We're going to be dominant within 6 months, more than any other nation ×2. We had this all just 3 years ago. Our raging crime statistics, if you look in Democrat-run cities, numbers the likes of which we have never seen before. The open threats by various countries of the use of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration, and which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I used to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. They said it would take 4 years. 4 weeks. To kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, that has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot. But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th President of the United States, who received $75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country. And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call, even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying, that's a perfect call. This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone were hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said, because nothing was said wrong. In fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, and election fraud specifically in Georgia, at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody found anything wrong with that perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, you know, I remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately. Then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb thrower who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. You know, the boxes hoax, as we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the Act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine? This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-A-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room in which they were locked. The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it? The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records. Everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before. We can't even believe it. Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the non-criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death. Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things to my home, which President Obama has done, the Bushes have done, Jimmy Carter has done, Ronald Reagan has done. Everybody's done. In fact, Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails, and that was okay. But nobody's done it like Joe Biden. This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change, who others of his ilk say he's even worse than they are, is only looking at Trump, yet Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown. You believe that? Just got $10 million from China. Where did that come from? I guess they were banking on Hunter's expertise and had others stored in unsecured offices in Pennsylvania and strewn all over his garage floor where his now very famous Corvette is also stored. All over the floor, including classified documents. But that's okay. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up. But isn't that real obstruction? That's obstruction. As president, I have the right to declassify documents, and the process is automatic if I take them with me. It's automatic, declassify. Biden was vice president. He had absolutely no right to declassify as vice president. He doesn't come under the non-criminal Presidential Records Act. He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law, which has very severe penalties. He had classified documents that he took while he was a senator, which is absolutely inexcusable. And other senators, including Democrats, are outraged. But he's not being harassed and hounded like the people who work for me are. In fact, they seem to have forgotten about his documents entirely. So many, thousands and thousands. It's okay with him. They like to say that I'm obstructing, which I'm not, because I was working with NARA very nicely until the raid on my home. But Biden is obstructing by making it impossible to get the 1,850 boxes or explain why many documents were located in Chinatown. Can't explain it. Why were they in Chinatown? I don't know. Lastly, I'm under investigation. This time a civil investigation by another racist in reverse who also campaigned on, "I will get Trump. I will get him." This was her campaign. Never ran for office. "I will get him." Her name is Letitia James. And she proclaimed while campaigning, quote, "I look forward to going into the office of the Attorney General every single day, suing him, and then going home." Before she knew me. She announced, "What is fueling my soul right now is Trump." And that she had her eyes on Trump Tower. Those eyes are focused on Trump Tower. Didn't know the young lady. She even assured her supporters in an election promise that we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
We've been listening to Donald Trump speak live in Florida, live at his home, Mar-A-Lago, after being in New York City earlier today to face a 34-count felony indictment accusing him in a scheme trying to bury negative information during his first campaign. And he has said many times before that this is politically motivated and that this is a witch hunt. Let's bring it CP24's Beatrice Vaisman with more reaction. And Beatrice, he basically continued to say this in this speech here at Mar-A-Lago. The first thing he said is we need to save our country, and referred to this specific case as election interference like we've never seen before in our country, and then continuing to hit on the many investigations, calling out the Democrats, taking direct aim at the Democrats, talking about the fraudulent investigations, the raid on Mar-A-Lago, calling the election a fraud and rigged, and spending a lot of time talking about Joe Biden, his son Hunter, and calling them a crime family, saying this case needs to be dropped immediately. So he's not pulling any punches, continuing with his ongoing theme of calling this politically motivated and a witch hunt.
Yeah, make no mistake, Scott, this was a rally speech by Donald Trump as he gears up for running for the Republican nomination for the 2024 race. Keep in mind, this is a friendly room. This is a room packed with hundreds of supporters, many of them wearing Make America Great Again hats, people there cheering for him, booing for him. This reminds me exactly of Donald Trump's stump speeches as he was running, first for election and then for re-election. His kids, his two sons specifically, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, with their spouses or partners in the front row there as well, supporting him, along with people like Roger Stone, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well, a controversial figure who earlier in the day on Fox News compared Donald Trump to Nelson Mandela and Jesus as well. Donald Trump saying this is a fake case that was brought forward because of the 2024 election, saying, quite frankly, our country is going to hell. That is a direct quote from this speech.